You just.
Joker is the new 2019 origin story of the classic comic book movie character villain that we all goddamn love. I just rewatched The Dark Knight yesterday, and Heath Ledger, man, in that movie, I never thought it would be topped. I still think that is one of the best performances for a movie villain of all time. And I was like, when I heard they was doing a Joker movie, I was like, come on, no one can ever beat Heath Ledger. They didn't do it in Suicide Squad. With Jared Leto's Joker, and then I saw the trailer for this movie, and Joaquin Phoenix looked absolutely phenomenal in this role, and I was really, really excited to see what they could do with the Joker origin story. I heard a lot of great things, I heard a lot of bad things, but I was really looking forward to seeing what he could bring to the table, what he could bring to this Joker origin story, and I got really, really excited to see what happens. This is going to be a full non-spoiler review. There were so many things to spoil in this movie, like so many little nods and everything that I really want to talk about. But I'll probably do that in a spoiler-ish thought video. But this review is just going to be talking about how I enjoyed the film and how good it is, and this movie is phenomenal. I think this movie is great. This is the perfect origin story for this character. It is the best origin story I think we've ever had for a comic book character ever. I think this is a phenomenal film. This is probably my favorite film that's come out in 2019 so far. I think it's the best made. This film doesn't feel like a product of today. This film definitely feels like it come out in the 1970s. It does borrow some other elements of some other films, definitely like Taxi Driver. It definitely is very similar to that movie, but in terms of how it's structured, it has the same similar character, same similar story, same themes. And that movie did come out in the 70s, but this movie feels like it came out in the 70s, even when it's due to the titles or the music or the style. It is actually set in that era, and I loved the setting of this movie, the dirty New York streets, the incredible how everyone acts. It was just fantastic. I loved the way this movie was and how it depicted society, but it does have a very similar structure to that of Taxi Driver. But movies like Drive also have a very similar thing. It's inspired a lot of films, and this movie is no different, but this movie definitely has its uniquity where it is, and this movie has a unique style. I'm just glad that there is a movie that is like Taxi Driver released today, because, I didn't expect that to happen, and people that say that films aren't as good as they were back then, I think this movie is a great example for saying, no, they're still as good, and Joker is fantastic. I loved everything about this film. And it's a film that every single scene we learn more and more about this character. I don't want to get too much into Arthur Fleck and the Joker in this movie because it is very spoiler heavy. And I've always loved the origin of the Joker, like you have in The Dark Knight, when Heath Ledger has all the different interpretations of why he got his scars. This movie definitely does a same thing of that, where it does have a bit of ambiguity. I know I'm getting into a little bit of spoiler there, so I'm going to track away from that a little bit, but everything with Arthur Fleck is phenomenal, and it takes him a long time to turn into this Joker character. But see, I never once thought in the film, oh, he hasn't turned into the Joker yet. No, because it's that progression that I really loved, and seeing him get darker and seeing what would drive him to madness. Was it society, or is it this condition he has? And I love how this movie portrays society and mental illness. There's a scene in the movie, multiple scenes. Every single scene just has a little bit of extra to his character. I actually found his character very relatable. I actually felt sympathy for him in some moments of the story, and that I thought was really, really strong and something that I really, really did appreciate with Joker. And I really did feel for this guy. And at the same time, the movie, I think where a lot of people's criticisms are coming in, is that it sort of sides with the Joker's ideals. No, it's showing you how a man that we can relate to would do something like absurd and will become this mass murderer and this terrorist. And this movie makes you feel like you are him, because he has this condition where he can't stop laughing, and I love that. That adds so much more depth to the Joker character, and it adds for some amazing dark comedy and moments where I was really, really laughing. But at the same time, while I was laughing and smiling, because I was smiling consistently throughout this entire film, but I was laughing with the Joker because he's laughing at all the wrong things. And I love that. But when he's laughing, I'm laughing along with him, but I'm still feeling sorrow for him inside. I'm feeling uneasy because it's not right. I shouldn't be laughing at this. But the film is putting you in the mindset of someone like that. And the film that can put you in a mindset of someone with a mental illness, I think is fantastic. It makes you feel like you are that character while watching the film. There's some things in the film that are just in his head and aren't actually real. And this whole ambiguity that's going on inside this film is fantastic. The Joker origin story has always been something that has been left up to multiple choice. It was like that in the comics, it was like that in the movies, and it's like that in this as well. And that element of the film I found absolutely fascinating because it makes you feel like you are this character while watching this movie, and that was insane. It has a lot of really good nods to other DC films that I really enjoyed. As a DC fan of the comics and a fan of this character, the Joker is probably my favorite comic book movie villain of all time. And this movie might have actually bumped it up to like probably one of my favorite movie villains of all time. He is one of my favorite movie characters ever because I just love the performance. And Joaquin Phoenix is fantastic in this film. The way the makeup and design was all done for this character. But not just all of that, it's the way it was used. There's an incredible scene where he's dancing in a bathroom that gave me chills down my spine. There was a great chase sequence throughout the film that was really, really exciting and really, really unsettling. But there was one scene in particular where he's talking with the talk show host, and that scene was fantastic. That scene filled me up with so many chills, and I loved it. So many incredible moments with this character. But something I really appreciate was some of the imagery, because you can see he's painted on smile, like his classic red smile, but in between that smile you can still see his frown. And that was fantastic, because that smile that he's drawn is the outer smile. That's him presenting himself as a comedy, but inside he is still a tragedy, and it works so well with that line, my favorite line in the film.
I used to think that my life was a tragedy. Now I realize it's a comedy.
Is where he says, I used to think my life was a tragedy, but actually it's a comedy. And that works so well to showing you how this character develops, because at the start of the film, everyone else sees him as a comedy, everyone else is laughing at him, but actually his life is a tragedy. But then towards the end of the film, he sees everything else around him as a tragedy, and he is the comedy. And that, I thought, was fascinating. How it shows that mental struggle between his head and showing you all these things that are coming up in his head and how this can all mean. There's a final scene that changes the entire film and makes you think about the film afterwards. There are not many movies that do that. I'm still processing some of this movie because it's just so amazing. There are hardly any flaws to be found, and I loved the production of this movie. Again, it did feel like a 1970s film. You know, it was fantastic. I loved the shots, the imagery was great. I loved the jokes that kept going in. The dark comedy was really, really interesting, and sometimes the movie did make me laugh a lot. Again, I was consistently smiling, but unsettled at the same time. It was a very obscure feeling. It's one of the best cinema experiences I've had because I was feeling so many things at the same time, and it was very, very impactful, and seeing him each step of the way getting driven to madness was really fascinating. And it reminds me of other films that I really love, but it doesn't ponder or copy to those films. It's using those films as inspiration to telling the story. There were some scenes that were great. It's not like a really violent film or anything like that. It's not like super unsettling. This is a character piece drama, and it's definitely that. So this movie doesn't fall into any other genre, I don't think, besides drama. This is a full character piece, and as a character piece, it's amazing seeing this character, seeing things that just drive this character to complete and utter madness, and seeing this illness build up in him and the way he is treated by society. You can really see how someone like that could change, and it's really, really realistic, actually. And I thought it was phenomenal seeing what he has become, seeing what he does to society. And a lot of things towards the end I predicted, but, you know, because it's the Joker. But there wasn't actually much of the Joker in this movie because I was just so invested in what Arthur Fleck was doing. And this is definitely an Arthur Fleck film. This is Arthur Fleck seeing how he would become someone like the Joker. This isn't a movie about the Joker. This movie is an origin story for how a man like this would become the Joker, and it's told with such ambiguity and insane amounts of realism and care for this character. But at the same time, the movie is just so unsettling, And it's definitely not an easy watch. It is a difficult watch because you just love this character so much and you're so immersed in this character. The movie has a mystery around it, and I loved it. It was fantastic. In terms of pinpointing any flaws with the film, there really are none. I literally have sat there and thought about every single goddamn scene. Every scene transitions so well into the next that there really is not a single flaw with this film. I think this film will be a classic in the future. It's like those old 70s and 80s films we all love, and I think Joker is a complete and utter masterpiece. I really don't have any flaws with this film at all. I think the performance is phenomenal. There is so much else to say about this film, like a lot, but it's all spoiler heavy, and I definitely want to get into that, but I'm just telling you now, this film, yep, it's a masterpiece. I'm gonna give Joker an A+, and a 10 out of 10. Holy crap, guys, this movie is phenomenal. One of the best films I've honestly ever seen. Guys, comment down below your opinions on Joker if you did see it, and of course, thanks for watching, and goodbye.